Happy Monday, everybody. Happy Monday, everybody. And I want to welcome you to another edition of Opinions live stream and podcast. And my name is Katie Lowe, right here at Rhythm Flow Radio, Meta, Facebook, Live, YouTube, and Spreaker. And I want to remind everyone to go online and go to TikTok and follow Rhythm Flow Radio 3 because soon Rhythm Flow Radio will be on TikTok, and you can help make that happen by going on TikTok and following Rhythm Flow Radio 3. But before we get the show started, I must say to some people, thank you. And today I want to say thank you to my friends at Oval Cleaning. That's Oval Cleaning Inc. That's 708-528-6825. That's Oval Cleaning for all your cleaning needs. It's a professional cleaning service. Carpets, windows, floors, and more. Commercial, residential, and post-construction. Call my friends Mike and Steve. I mean, they will be there for all your cleaning needs. That's those guys at Over Cleaning. That's 708-528-6825. And just like I want to say thankful, I want to say thank you to Oval Cleaning. I'm trying to look for my girl. Hey, there she is. I want to say thank you to my friends at Martha's Helping Hands. Martha's Helping Hands, helping the homeless by any means necessary. I want you to sow a seed today to Martha's Helping Hand. Sow that seed at Turner's, TURNERS 412 at Martha's Helping Hands.org. And now I'm going to bring Opinionated, you know who, to this show because you know the name of the show. The name of the show is Opinions.
That's right. Hey, Katie Lowe.
Hey there, how are you?
I'm doing good. How you been?
Girl, I've been like an opinion.
Ah, everybody got one.
Girl, you know I've been like what?
Oh my goodness.
But I don't see Professor Dunn at all. So I'm gonna log out your screen, girl, and let you have a way with it. Hey,
Okay.
happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Thank you, Katie Lowe. Hey, folks. Welcome to Opinions Livestream Podcast. I'm your host, Lorie Williams. And today, this subject, we're going to, not that the other ones are not serious, but this is a subject that really hits home for a lot of people, especially here in the city of Chicago. And really, it has to do with violence, violence in America. And this particular show is Violence in America, Gun, Mind, or Both. So we're going to talk about, is it just gun violence? I mean, is it violence that begins in the mind and then the gun is the expression of it? We're going to talk about some of those things. One thing that I noticed is that this weekend we had more than a dozen people killed in the U.S. And 70 injured in at least 13 mass shootings this weekend. That's insane. I never even thought that that would, something like that would happen, or those large numbers would happen like that. And these shootings, they weren't just in big cities. They were in places as vast as Socorro, Texas, Somerton, South Carolina, Philadelphia. There was a horrible mass shooting there, Phoenix, Arizona, and the list goes on. It's really gotten to be, it's gotten out of control. And just as a level set, mass shootings are defined as 4 people or more being shot in one incident. So that just kind of speaks to the large amount of people being affected by this. And even here in the city of Chicago, 13 people were shot and 5 were fatal over this past weekend. So it's it's just something that really needs to be addressed. And the debate goes on about this issue. We have gun control advocates that think stricter gun laws need to be put into place. And then you have people on the other side that gun rights advocates. They think more guns need to go into the hands of good people or the good guys. So there's a saying, I think, that to stop a bad guy with a gun, you need to have a good guy with a gun. I mean, what do you think? Do you think is that something that reigns true, or is it making the problem worse? These are kind of things we're going to discuss. What should be done? Like how do we attack this problem? And it's getting out of hand. Every time we turn on the news, or you get an alert on your phone, there's another mass shooting. So we have to have this discussion about the shooting, the violence. Is it really a gun problem? Is it a violence problem? Is it a mental health problem? What is it? So what we're going to do is we're going to discuss this with someone that has seen the ugly side of gun violence and crime here in the streets of Chicago. And our guest this evening currently works as a crime victim advocate for a local government agency department. And she started her career in victim advocacy when her best friend's son died in the 2003 infamous E2 Stampede tragedy, where 21 young people lost their lives here in the city of Chicago. And since that time, she's worked for an organization called Chicago Survivors, Chicago Citizens for Change. And she's currently with a local government department doing similar work around advocating for crime victims and their families. So I want to bring onto our show Dawn V. Hey, Dawn.
Hey, good evening.
Hey, full disclosure, she's also my friend, so just so people know as well.
You just got yourself in trouble there.
Yeah, hey, full disclosure. I don't want to our audience to not know. But yeah, so Dawn, in my intro here, just kind of talking about I can't believe it that 32 people shot and 5 fatal over this past weekend in Chicago alone. And then it was 70 injured and at least 13 mass shootings in the whole of the United States. That's just crazy. I mean,
so
what do you think about that?
I was really blown away this morning to hear about that many mass shootings taking place in one weekend. Like, yes, Chicago has mass shootings almost a daily basis. If you talk about 4 or more, we have that. But to hear across the country in other states and other cities how people are now just walking into groups and crowds and they don't care who is in that crowd and just unleashing bullets it blew me away this morning as I was talking to a friend of mine. And she was I didn't even know about South Carolina this morning. I only knew about, I think it was about Philadelphia, Phoenix, yeah. And then Texas happened. And I was just really, really blown away that the lack of humanitarian, the lack of people who care about other humans that can just open fire on whoever and they don't care. And a lot of them I seen, in these crowds were young kids. Were young. We're talking about 13 to maybe 25. And I might be giving them that might be too old, but just to see the young people, it just makes me think of what is their mind frame that they think that is okay.
Yeah. And here's the other thing is that, a lot of, just to be upfront, I can see both sides of the, as far as like the debate about guns, but I don't know. I think that there's a disproportionate amount of gun violence and deaths resulting in that because of the fact that, shooting with a gun is more efficient than, let's say, a knife or something like that. But I just want to ask you this question, though. In your line of work, what would you say the percentages of people that have been, met their untimely demise with guns versus some other method?
I wish I would have known you were going to ask me for numbers, because I could have got those for you real quick.
I mean,
But
but just
there
a quick and
there
dirty though. What?
yeah,
Like,
you know what? There are more people that are dying at the hands of guns than there are from stabbings, from beatings, from vehicular homicides, from child abuse, from other things that are happening in our country today.
mm,
Today, and especially in our city, there are definitely more people dying at the hands of a gun than there are any other crimes.
okay, okay, that's interesting. And so that kind of that so people that say, oh, people don't kill, what's it, guns kill, or people kill people, not guns. That kind of you know uh, gets rid of that argument for them. I mean, people are choosing to use a gun versus some other method that is not as efficient in killing, then had they not had a gun, perhaps they would not have killed someone or missed their target and then killed somebody else. So,
I mean, yes, this is true, and there are other weapons, as I've mentioned. There are other weapons, right? We know that clubs, that bats, that knives, that somebody's bare hands can be used as a weapon. A vehicle can be used as a weapon. There are a lot of things that can be used as weapons, but they're not being used at the rate that we are seeing gun violence across our country, because they're happening. It's happening. It's happening all too often, and people used to say to me, oh, I'll be glad when the weather breaks, and it's cold outside, and all this senseless shooting will stop. And no, it actually doesn't. What happens here or across the country is you see more domestics, because people are, it's cold outside, they're locked up together. Even during the pandemic, it was worse. It was really, really bad for survivors of domestic violence, because now you're isolated, you can't go anywhere, and that abuser knows where you are and knows how to get to you. And um it's in the winter time. It's again, it's domestic violence. It's, somebody in a car will pull up next to you and shoot into your car. Like, the numbers, they slow down a little bit, but not a lot.
mm.
They don't stop completely because it's cold outside. Okay, nobody's going to shoot anybody because they're not outside. They're not
But
standing
didn't
on the
that used to be
corner.
the case? Like, I mean, I don't know, let's say 15 years ago, that there was the case that when it was cold, the numbers were a lot lower as far as, murders and crime and things like that.
So I've been doing this work for about 15 years now, and I've been saying the same thing. And so, do they slow down? Yeah, they slow down, but they don't stop.
They
They
don't.
don't stop. They don't stop.
Mm. And then here's something else though, mental illness. And I know we talked about this before. What would you say mental, or how does mental illness play into the whole equation of, let's say, gun violence or just violence in general?
So when we talk about mental illness, we're talking about somebody's mind frame, right? And we're talking about there are different kind of mental illnesses, right? And some of the mental illnesses that people suffer are suicidal, and some are homicidal, right? So let's
Mm.
be real. If somebody's suffering from, depression, which is suicide, or even postpartum depression, after a woman is, has her baby, and their depression is where people are more apt to commit suicide than homicide. And then you have people that have, schizophrenia. And like, just like we're having this conversation, we could have this conversation, you could have this conversation with somebody who has schizophrenia, and they see that your lips are moving, but they don't hear anything that you say. And there's a disconnect with something in the brain. And I mean, that they can become violent, they can become homicidal. And mental illness is playing, I mean, because it's playing a huge part, because nobody in their right mind would walk into a mosque, into a school, into a church, into a movie theater. Nobody in their right mind would just walk into those kinds of places and just open fire and just spray the crowd. Again, I'll speak on Chicago and what happened this weekend. People walked into places where there were mass crowds, big crowds of people, and they just sprayed the crowd, you know. And
Mhm.
I mean, we had just on Saturday, as we were doing a motorcycle ride, uh, because it was actually National Wear Orange Day in honor of Hydea Pendleton, and others who were killed by gun violence. As we rode past a certain block, 25 minutes later, you know, I'm listening. I heard it over the police radio that, wow, that was 3 people shot, and I was like, wait, we just rode through there. So, you know,
Oh
as I'm
my God,
looking to
that's
the
scary.
corner, I hear this and I'm like, we just rode through there. And I kind of feel like nobody's safe anymore. Cause I mean, what's safer than a school?
Hmm.
What is safer than a movie theater, a mosque, a church, a synagogue? What, what place is safer than those?
Yeah.
Those are not even safe anymore. Nobody's safe. You're not safe. You're just not safe. If somebody's angry, they're having a mental breakdown, something happened to them, and they just want to take it out on everybody. And the thing about it is, the people that are close to them in their life, they know it and they see it, and they don't do anything about it.
Yeah, and here's something else that's interesting that I've noticed. It seems that just around this whole notion of mental illness and people kind of lashing out, there seems to be two standards for that because I think on a visceral level we understand that okay, someone shoots up a movie theater for no reason. Some and not to bring race into it, but unfortunately that is part of the reality. Some white guy sprays bullets in a movie theater, and we understand that there's something mentally wrong with him to be able to do that and to just like for no reason. But then there's the other side. If you look in the urban areas when this sort of thing happens, and somebody gets into a beef on Facebook or some other social media, and they decide to meet somebody else in the public and then shoot them, and then they end up shooting 10 other people and missing their target or something like that. I argue the fact that that is mental illness, but I feel like the conversation is not really leading that direction. People immediately when they see, African American, Latino kid doing this crime, they think, oh, criminal. I mean, they might be criminal, but there has to be some sort of a mental health element behind that. What's your take on that?
So what we've known over the years is the victims and the shooters are statistically 25 or under. Now when I get somebody who's 47, 58, 69 who's been shot, it blows my mind when I hear that, but statistically. So when we talk about mental illness and we talk about these shootings, the majority of them are, like I said, 25 and under are the victims, and so are the shooters, right? And if we're going to talk about mental illness, we have to address the trauma that children suffer that go untreated. Right. There's a test called the ACEs, Early Childhood Experiences, and there's a test, and you get rated on this test if if you grew up in a household where there was sexual abuse, where there was domestic violence, where there was a drug addicted parent, where there was an absent parent, where there was all these different things going on. So people grow up, young kid people grow up, and they grow up in these kinds of violent homes or missing or drug addicted, and they think that it doesn't affect children. It absolutely affects children. I
Mm-hmm.
always use this as an example. You have a baby, and the baby lives in a quiet home, and there's nothing happening ever. It is always quiet in that home, and that baby is always happy and giggling and laughing. But then all of a sudden you hear loud voices, the parents start arguing, maybe glass starts breaking, and there's anger in the room, and the child starts crying because there's something wrong. Of course the child can't say what's wrong because they don't know, but they know something is different. And
Mm-hmm.
that goes for children, because children, like, the children in Uvalde, Texas, knew something was wrong, but they don't know how to talk about it. They don't know how to say, I'm not okay, because if they're trying to go to sleep and they're having nightmares, they don't know that that's trauma. And
Yeah.
so I think a lot of it comes from untreated trauma. And unless we treat that trauma, which includes mental illness, that nothing's, I mean, it's not going to change. I mean, We have mental illness. And this is why I believe in stricter gun laws. And don't get me wrong, for all you who are listening, who are probably blowing your lid right now, we got a Second Amendment. It's our right to bear arms. It is absolutely your right to bear arms. I had a son who just served 6 years. He was 6 years in the military. He served our country. He carries a weapon. I am all for everybody protecting themselves. What I'm not okay with is somebody who has a mental illness, who walks into a gun shop, buys two AR-15s. Why do you need AR-15s? Those weapons were made for mass destruction. They were made for war. They were
Absolutely.
made for the front line. They weren't made for our streets. Are you going to slaughter a cow with that? Are you gonna shoot a deer with that? No,
Yeah, you
because
wouldn't be able to eat the meat if you could if you did with an
right,
AR.
that's my point exactly. And I know that there are men and women across this country who like their AR-15s, who like to target practice with that. And I'm not saying you don't have the right to bear arms. What I'm saying is we have the right, as innocent people, we have the right to know who's buying a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Who and like why? Like, if what's the big for me? What's the big deal? What's the big deal if you wait 2 or I mean, we got gun collectors that have
Absolutely.
hundreds of guns right now in their house. And hey, more power to you. It's not my thing, it's your thing. More power to you. Nobody's trying to take anybody's guns away. The thing
Mm-hmm.
is, why can't we all come together on one accord? I mean, and say, you know what? Enough is enough. They're right.
Yep.
They're right. You know what? Let's have them fill out a mental health evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have them wait, 30 days for this. Let's have them do like we're talking about human lives versus guns.
Right.
People
But
have the right
it's
to
kind of like what they said. What is the saying? You can't put the toothpaste back into the tube. I just think that we've
live.
had, because we have so many different states. It's a relatively large country, and it's a lot more difficult to control. For example, just in the past week or so, Canada, I think they outlawed the ban or they banned the sales of
Handguns.
handguns.
Yeah.
So, but that doesn't mean that the people that have them have to get rid of them, but they just,
Right.
ban the sale of them. But here's the thing that people don't realize. It's like, okay, it's easy for Canada. And I think New Zealand did the same thing. But Canada, for example, they only have 30 million people there. The US has over 300 million. So they have 1/10 the population. And they have a province, they have less provinces, which means they have less laws and regulations. When you have 50 states, as the US has, that means you're going to have 50 different laws, or the potential for 50 different gun law sets, and then there can be subsets of laws. So that's hard to control. So I just, not to be pessimistic, I just don't know if we're going to get to the point where we're going to be able to have gun control, because you have the red states, the blue states, you have people that are conservative, Democrats, and people that are in between, and everyone has their idea of you know how we should do things. So I guess the question is, do we, just from what you've seen, do you think that this will work if we have more of the notion of putting guns in the hands of the quote unquote good guys, meaning like more CCL training, or
Listen,
maybe open carry, perhaps?
I am all for it. I am all for conceal and carry. I am all for it. But I believe that if you're going to get your conceal and carry, I believe that you should go through a mental health background check, and you should wait 30 days for your background to clear. I believe in it. I
Mm-hmm.
believe in, if you're at a pump and you're pumping gas and somebody sticks a gun in your side, I believe you absolutely have the right to protect yourself. This is what I'm saying. I believe in all that.
Mm-hmm.
I just think there should be laws put in place where you have to wait. You shouldn't just be able to go to the store and buy a gun like you're buying a gallon of milk. And you've
Right.
got a mental illness, and they know, and people know that you have a mental illness, and you've been saying that you're going to kill people, or you're killing animals, or you're doing other things that make people think that you are homicidal, even though you're not saying it. You do certain things that show that you obviously got an issue, and the parents know, wow, why is he out there killing? Why did he take that cat and hang it by the tree? Like, these are real things that are really happening. And
They
instead of
knew that there was a
asking,
problem with this
yes,
individual.
yes, they knew that there was a problem. This kid in Uvalde, Texas, didn't wake up one day and just out of the clear blue sky say, I'm gonna shoot my grandmother in the face. I'm gonna buy these AR-15s, and I'm gonna go to the school and I'm gonna shoot. No, this was planned. This
Even
was
jobs will do a
something.
reference check to see they ask for 3 references and they call them. Maybe we need
Who's
something
that?
like that. A job. If you apply for a job, they do a reference check. Maybe people need, because maybe the mother would have said, "Oh no, I don't think he should have a gun," and for XYZ. I mean, I don't know. We're gonna have
You
to
know,
try something different.
I'm gonna tell you about one of the laws here. If you are a conceal and carry holder and you are in a relationship and you batter your partner, you go to jail for domestic violence. You can no longer own a gun.
That's a good rule. That's a good law.
That's the law. That is
That's
that is
very
the law.
fair.
You have to, if you have a weapon, you have to turn your weapon over to local authorities as well as your conceal and carry. You can no longer carry. If you are arrested and charged with domestic violence, you can no longer carry your weapon.
Okay. So we're talking about the legal end and people that are doing all the right things to be able to be gun owners, right? But then there's the other side, and this is probably the question to you is, there are a lot of people out here that they're doing straw purchases. They might purchase from somebody that bought from Indiana and they're not the rightful owner of the gun. There's the ghost guns that are out there.
We
Um,
outlawed
there's
those, by the way.
right.
We just passed a
But
law here in Illinois.
right, which is good. I think that's going in the right direction. But here's the problem, though, is that there's just so many guns on the streets. You see these kids running around with guns, and I mean,
Yeah.
like people under the age of 18. Like, how are they getting them, and what do we do to be able to combat that? How do we get these guns out of their hands?
Well, like you talked about straw purchasers back some years ago. I'm not sure if they're still there, but the name of it was Chuck's Gun Shop out in, I think, Riverdale, Illinois. And 15% of the guns that were found here in shootings that the police took off of shooters, 15% of those guns came from Chuck's Gun Shop. So
Oh,
yes, it's, again, it's they call them bad apple gun dealers. That's what they call them, bad apple gun dealers. And you have people
so what
that
happened to this guy? Did he do any time, or
the guy from
at Chuck's?
yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. I know,
Oh, goodness.
again, that's really not my lane. Like, I'm a victim advocate, and I help families after, unfortunately, in the aftermath. So I've never was really into, the gun laws and lobbying. But I mean, I'm around a lot of people that are. But straw purchases. You're right. People go down to right across the border. Perfect example. The kid that shot Officer Yanez and Officer Ella French got a gun from a man in Indiana.
Yeah.
That was his gun, and came here and killed him. I mean, we go right across the border. We know a lot of the guns that are in this country are flowing from right across the border. Like, what are we? 30 minutes, 35 minutes, if that, to
Mm-hmm.
Indiana.
Yep.
And that's just people having to know who they're I'm sure law enforcement has people that go to these gun shows. I know I seen what is her name? I can't remember her name, but she went undercover to a gun show and showed how easy it was to buy a weapon and come right over here and sell it, and
Right. It's
they
not
have.
like we have a border control and people are checking, like in a
Right,
different country,
right.
going to different countries. So it's so very, very easy
Well,
to do.
you want to know something interesting? And I know you know this because you live here. You can't bring in fireworks are illegal here.
Mm-hmm.
You can't bring fireworks. Well, you're technically not supposed to. It's gotten really bad over the last few years. But you're not supposed to have fireworks. They're against the law here. So you can't go across there and bring fireworks here. But yet they're coming across with
Oh,
guns.
but and people, they do it all the time. I mean, in my neighborhood, as soon as the summer hits, I mean, it's you're trying to decide, okay, is that a gunshot or is that fireworks or M80? Or I mean, it's but none of it is legal here in Illinois. So,
And it happens. You know, a friend of mine just moved down to, literally, she's probably been there a week, moved down to Arizona, and she was sitting on her porch last night, and she had Facebook Live, and she was like, "Oh my God, you guys hear that?" And you hear pop, pop, pop. And she's like, "I hope that fireworks." And I'm like, "No, ma'am. Those are gunshots. I know the difference between fireworks and gunshots." And those were definitely, she's like, "I feel like I'm in Chicago." She just moved there. So, again, it's happening everywhere, anywhere. The 4th of July, somebody's birthday, a funeral, uh um um New Year's Eve, like, people just randomly just shoot in the air, like. And you're right, a lot of the shootings that are happening, especially here, are people who don't have conceal and carry, who have no business having a weapon. They have weapons,
mhm,
illegal weapons. I
absolutely.
mean, yeah.
Now here's something else. So remember the case of Adam Toledo, and I think that that officer was exonerated, by the way. Um, so my question is not so much about really the case, as far as the officer and all that. It really has to do with, once again, first of all, how did he get the gun? Okay. And then secondly, the question is, why are the parents not checking to see what's in this kid's drawer or checking his bedroom or something like that? Why are the parents not involved in their lives? And not to just pick on, Adam Toledo's case, but I mean, there's hundreds of kids that are like that end up falling and getting into trouble, with somebody's cliques and hanging out with older people. Like, where's the responsibility at for the adults?
Well, I used to say that a lot back in my early years of doing this work, but I've really come across some really, really, really great people, really great parents who do all that, and their kids still have managed to do other than what their parents um, had planned for them. And so, I mean, there's other ways to get guns, and it happens. It happens. And I'm not saying all parents are good parents. I mean, because we can look at the what happened to Officer Ella French and the shooter in that case. I mean, his mom ran into the and Facebook Live. She ran into the hospital
For
and
that.
and kicked the officer up there. And she went on Facebook to say that her kid wasn't a monster, and her kid was, her kid was a good kid. And he's the one who had the gun that came from Indiana. you know we
Yeah.
just and the worst thing they could do was create these ghost guns,
Yeah.
because I think I heard, and I don't want to make I'm not going to give a number because I don't know the correct number, but it was recently. There was a lot of the Chicago Police Department took a lot of ghost guns off of the street. Now these are guns that could be made
Mm.
by a computer. And so, there's definitely an issue, and there's an issue with guns, and there's an issue of people who have no business having guns, that have guns. We have mental illness, and we have trauma, untreated trauma. And this is a result of what we're seeing today. Somebody's saying something, and unfortunately, I don't have my glasses. Can you see that?
Ah, yes, actually. Oops, sorry, I dropped off the screen there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
gonna
there you are.
actually here I'm gonna read a comment. Actually, this is a friend of the show,
Okay.
Carmen Navarro Jacon, and she's actually running for Cook County Sheriff. And what she
Oh
says
yeah,
is
yeah.
absolutely there must be a waiting period, and we also must look at the types of firepower available for purchase. Our law enforcement officers are not equipped to protect us or themselves from military style firearms. Having states right next to each other with polar opposite gun laws is why we need to have states push the federal government to do something more. Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more, Carmen. That is very, very true. So
Yep.
and here's the thing is that politically we are just, I mean, it's a ish storm. I mean, in terms of, you have the right and
Can you
left.
see my hands?
What's
I,
that?
can you see my hands? I'm throwing my hands up to that.
Mhm.
This is a political year, right? Next year
Yep.
is a political year, and the candidates are going to start coming out. And I mean, what gets me the most is that everybody's platform is always on the violence, and
Mhm.
then um it's just crazy. It's crazy how people, I hate election time because I hate all the bad ads, and I hate all the finger pointing this way, and I'm
Absolutely.
gonna do better, and I hate it all the time, and I feel like I don't care if, and it doesn't matter who's in office, nobody's ever going to be happy 100% with that person in office. It just, that's just the way it is, and it's always going to be like
Right.
that. Uh-oh.
And here's the other thing too is that and not to get into a debate on politics, but I mean it's something that is probably affecting these laws and things like that. You have politicians that they'll run for office, they'll run on a platform, but then once, and this, I mean, this, it just happens over and over again. They get in the office, everything that they promise doesn't happen, and then who's left to suffer? Well, it's everyday people trying to decide what they need to do. Like for example, there's I've read that there's an uptick in gun purchases directly after any mass shooting. It's something that it's been happening for years. So every time you know you have this mass shooting, what do people do? They're afraid. They go out and buy guns. So and it's well within their rights, but it's like, okay, when are politicians gonna stay, okay, let me be selfless and let me try to get laws put into place to protect the people instead of me trying to worry about, oh, when is the next election phase or the next election cycle and getting put into office and maintaining their jobs. That is the problem that I have with that, because it seems like we can never really get any traction on it.
So my phone actually rang while you were talking, so the volume went down and I lost you. I could hear you, but I could barely hear you, but I'm not sure if you could hear me.
Oh, okay. What, can you repeat what you said?
Did you hear me?
No.
I said my phone actually rang while we're on this call, so it knocked out my audio, so I could
Oh,
barely
okay. I
hear
heard you
you.
say that. Oh, you didn't. No, I was just saying that as far as politicians and basically making promises as far as gun violence or even gun control or and all that, and then they get into office and then they're sort of beholden to, I don't know, maybe they're whoever gave more money to the campaign, and then the things that we need and that we're asking for our safety, it goes by the wayside. So I'm going to read another comment. So Carmen, you have to come on the show. But let's see. She says that is why there are so many people running for office this year that have never run before. It's time to change. Absolutely. So, and that's the thing. Are these people that are career politicians? Probably not. And that's what we need, are people that are not career politicians. They really are about change and about making society better instead of just collecting the next paycheck. So,
I tell you this. Can you hear me okay?
yep.
Okay. I'm more interested in this judge race. I'm more
Okay.
interested in the judge's race because I can tell you that I've had just this year. No, 2 this year, 1 last year. Parent called me to tell me that the person who murdered their loved one, their child, was out on electronic monitoring, and they were sitting at home on Zoom for a court date.
Mm.
I had one woman, there was 5 people in the car. Her daughter was 19 years old. She had came home from college. She had took a leave of absence because her mom was sick. And she just got in the car. She didn't even know the boys that were in the car. She knew the girl that came and got her. They pulled up next to this guy. The guy in the front seat made a stupid comment to the guy in the pickup truck or in the truck next to him. The guy just reached over. He must have had the gun sitting in his lap and reached over and shot everybody in the car. And her daughter was the only one that died. And it took them years to arrest him, and they arrested him. And then he was home. And then he's home on electronic monitoring on a Zoom call, asking for more movement because he wants to be able to go run errands for his mother. Do you know how that made that mother feel?
Oh my God.
You took my daughter's life. As a mother, I can't do anything for my daughter.
Yeah.
And then we talk about electronic monitoring, right? What I learned recently, and what most people should know, and it's coming out a little bit more now than it was, is there's 2 electronic monitoring systems. There's Tom Dart, who has his electronic monitoring system, and then there's Chief Judge Evans, who has his electronic monitoring program. Now his electronic, the chief judge, this was supposed to be for non-violent offenders, low class misdemeanors, non-violent offenders. But what we're finding is there's a ton of violent offenders. We have literally murderers in our city on house arrest who have literally, it wasn't I was protecting myself, I accidentally shot you type of situation. No, it was I pulled up next to you and I shot you. It was we got into an argument on the train and I chased you down the stairs, around the corner, and stabbed you type of thing.
Those are the type. Question, why does that happen?
And there's another one who you probably remember because it was a high profile case. This woman was in Walgreens. She was trying to leave the store. The guy who didn't even work for Walgreens lived next door and was pretending to be a security guy. The manager for Walgreens calls him. He comes over there and tries to stop the woman. The woman is like, "Get out of my face," and she's cussing him out. He throws her to the ground. She calls him a bitch while he's on top of her. And he literally takes his gun out, puts it to her face, and he shoots her.
Oh,
he is out on electronic monitoring. Why?
Yeah.
Why do you purposely kill somebody? So, again, it's, we're talking about guns. We're talking about mental illness. We're talking about the system. We're talking about everything as a whole that is playing a role in what's happening now. If you know, then you know, right? The police gotta arrest these people, get them charged, and then they get them charged, and they go to bond court, and then the judge lets them out on a low bond, no bond, or electronic monitoring. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And people who don't know, they say, "Oh, well, the police don't do their job, and the state's attorney ain't doing their job." Yeah, well, they're arresting them, they're charging them, but guess what? They're getting to 26 in California, and them bond judges are saying, "Oh yeah, they got something called pretrial services where they rate you. They give you a number rating on what they think if they let you out on a certain bond. What are the chances that you would commit another crime, or you would come back?"
It sounds like they're using an algorithm to decide these things, which is insane.
Listen, I've heard people out because I listen to bond court a lot. I've heard people out on bond, out on electronic monitoring, who violated their electronic monitoring rules, and then they get caught with another gun or something, do something else, and they put them right back on electronic monitoring. I just think these people here continue to do what they do because there is no consequences for them.
Yep. So
that's probably a whole nother show.
Yeah. Well, but let's talk about that for a little bit though. Like, what should the consequences be? How do you stop that?
Listen, when you kill somebody, you should not have the right to be out here on Zoom. You should not have the right to walk around and go to a restaurant, have a girlfriend, have a boyfriend, take them out on a date. When you took somebody's life, and I'm talking about, again, people who literally are walking up to somebody and killing them or driving by and targeting them. What is the consequences? The consequences is prison. Now there's no rehabilitation. Now let me set the record straight for this.
Okay.
I wholeheartedly believe in second chances. I believe people should have second chances because people, especially when they commit crimes when they're younger, they get older, they change their lives, and a lot of people want to help. Okay.
Right.
But when you take it upon you take it in your hands to be a judge, a jury, and an executioner, you belong behind bars. Once upon a time, we had the death penalty here. We didn't have all this. Well, let me say, we had, I think, back in the 90s, we had about 1 year where we had like 900 homicides that were happening. And we had the death penalty then, but I don't
and that's
think
what
we've ever
people,
had
they
a year
forget
since
about.
then.
They think about the homicide rate being so high. It was much higher back in the 90s.
Yeah, it definitely was. But we also had the death penalty too. Now there's just no consequences.
But so that's interesting. So we had the death penalty, and it was higher. So it seems like the death penalty was not, something, a deterrent for these criminals. You would think that it would be.
High. It didn't stay high.
Okay, so you say as a result, then, and then, well, I guess we would need to know when did they get rid of the death penalty? I think not really that long ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
So,
I think
so now
right around the time I started doing the work is when they abolished the death penalty.
So maybe there's a correlation to it. Maybe that is effective if people think that their life would end as a result. But many states have ended the death. But there's very few, I think, states, more the southern, more Republican-run states still have the death penalty.
Say it again.
I think more of the southern Republican states still have the death penalty.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna read another.
And back to your point about like federal laws to prevent guns being sold to people with mental illness. It has to be the same all across the country.
Yeah. I'm going to read another comment from Carmen Navarro-Dracone. Really great comments, Carmen. She said, at the end of the day, that is a societal issue. When you have communities that have been historically ignored and resources have been slowly taken away, what do we expect? Yeah, that's another thing. And I think that, because we're so polarized as a country, nobody wants to talk about race, right? I'll say, especially on the, more of the conservative side, the whole, I call the bootstrap side. They don't want to, because that's admitting that America is not perfect, which, I think it's okay for us to admit that we're not perfect because that means that we can make improvements. So this whole, I'm okay, patriotic. And if you question anything that has to do with, with race or whatever, then you're not American. So yeah, but race, we have to discuss race. I mean, that's something that it's a big problem, It
is. It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem when you go and if you think about the city and where the crime is happening. And don't get me wrong, because it happens in Rogers Park. There's a little pocket in the city called Juneway Terrace back there, right on the cusp of, literally on the cusp of evidence.
It's been like that for years over there too.
Yeah, right. But you don't hear about that as much as you hear about other parts of the city.
That's true.
But if you go into the South Side, certain areas in the South Side and certain communities on the West Side, and you see dilapidated buildings and boarded up buildings, and we got to talk about rap music. It's not even called rap, right? So when Ice Cube and Eazy-E and everybody came out, we were like, oh my God. And Mama Till, that was a woman who fought. I think she was out of New York. She really, really fought against rap music, and the stuff that they play today. Well, they call it trap music
Yeah,
or
trap.
drill music.
Yeah.
And
see, rap was hip hop back then, and it was more
well,
political.
no, because Eazy-E wasn't hip hop.
Well, I guess I'm talking about
and
more East Coast, like in New York. A lot of that was just
oh
kind of
yeah,
talking about the
no, yeah,
political
yeah,
state of things, and really more of a uplifting of the people and all
breakdancing,
that. What's that?
breakdancing.
Right, breakdancing. I mean, the true hip hop culture, but it's sort of morphed into, yeah, like you said, Eazy and NWA, and all the was a gangster rap at the time. And he had the East
Yeah,
Coast West Coast rivalry, and it's turned into a whole. It's just, yeah, it's morphed
I
into
mean,
something
and
unrecognizable.
you probably wouldn't, and I'm going to send you some of these videos to watch. Some of these videos, like I showed up at a crime scene. It was 8:30 in the morning, and this guy was laying face down in the street, and I just kept saying, I'm not going to look at him. I don't want to look at him. And one of the officers called me over, and he started talking to me, and as he was talking to me, they turned this guy over, and I just looked, and I hate that I looked. So I was finished there, and as I'm walking, away from the crime scene, there's a woman who said, hey, I know you. You're so and so's friend. I met you. I said, oh yeah, how you doing? She's like, that's my grandson. He's not into nothing. He raps. He's a rapper. He ain't into nothing. He don't bother nobody. He's just into his music. I said, oh, okay. So what did I do? I went and looked this guy up. His name was Shooter, Shotta Shells, Shellez, Shooter Shells.
Yeah, well, we
And
know
I
what that
looked
means.
at some of his videos, and him and his guys are in videos, and they got guns with laser beams, and they're talking about, disrespecting somebody's, the ops, and they killed the ops, and they're smoking on so and so pack, and they're just doing this whole big thing, and I'm like, oh my God. And I hear that so much from parents who say, my son wasn't really into anything. He was just into his rap. And I'm like, oh gosh, that doesn't
Well, see, but
feel good
that
to
comes back
me.
to parents being responsible. I mean, like I said, looking in their bedrooms to see what they have in there, listening to their music, really listening to the lyrics. Had that parent sat down and actually listened to what they're rapping about, perhaps they could have done something about that, right? I mean,
True, and true, and not all parents are like that. I know that, but there are parents that are what we say about their life, and they're getting down with their kids, and their kids are the one who's bringing the money in. This YouTube and TikTok and all these other social media platforms that people can make money off. I mean, they become social media stars
yeah,
just on social media, and I don't know how many like views you have to earn money, but they start earning money. They start earning money like that, and I just really wish everybody could just get along. You're gonna
yeah,
make some money, make money, and get out of here. Lil Durk did it. Chief Keef, after a while, it was a little rough for Chief Keef, but they got him out of here.
yeah.
He's a rapper, and he's a drill artist, is what he is. But they got him out of here. Lil Durk, he knew to get out of here. They got out of here. They're not involved in that life anymore. And I just feel like if you're that good of a rapper, then get out of here. Get out of here. And you don't have to. They say we rap about the life that we live, but why does the life that you live, or the drill music that you play, why does it have to incorporate women who are cladly dressed, who are twerking, who are just doing, like, why does
That's because sex.
that
Well,
have to be the face of drill music? Why?
yeah, well, I'm going to tell you why. First of all, sex sells, so people, they want to see that. But then also, it's kind of like, people that are like, let's say, into like Louis Vuitton designer purses, and and things like that. These are all sort of aspirational. They're very expensive, and it kind of gives off a a very luxurious lifestyle. So that's what they want. They feel that they have these trappings of success. They have the women, they have the money, they're throwing around money. They want to kind of bring themselves up and feel good about themselves. And because a lot of them don't, I mean, I found out in like the rap game that some of these cars and other things and gold, they don't even own that stuff. But they just do it because they want to have the appearance that they look, that they are wealthy. And then you have the kids that are watching this and they're thinking, oh, I want to do that, and there's the rap side to it, but then there's also the the drug side of it as well. So, but then they
There's
allude
rap,
to it.
there's drugs, there's generational, there's a lot of things that play roles. Depends on where you're at in this city, what's happening.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to read another comment from Carmen Navarro Draco. And Carmen, don't apologize. So we really enjoy your comments, and definitely we got to get you on the show very, very soon. So Carmen, she says, we have only expanded the size of our jail cells from 6 feet by 8 feet to the size of zip codes. We should absolutely hold people accountable, but we must also provide the resources needed to lead them to better opportunities. Yeah.
And you have to train them officers. I'm sure they got to be trained now. I remember when they started closing all these mental health facilities. I got some friends that worked at the jail, and one guy in particular, he's like, Don, we're not prepared for this. We don't know how to treat them. So with mental illness, what do? Lock them down. Lock them down. That's not the answer. You got to get them the treatment that they need. That's why I say I believe in second chances in certain things, but yeah, I mean, she's right. She's right. Is she still running? Is she still running for office?
Yes. Carmen, you are running for office, right? I think the election is coming up. I think it's soon, like June. I want to say June 28th.
I somehow thought she wasn't running anymore, but I could be wrong. She knows if she's running.
She says yes. She just responded. Yes, she is running. June 28th. I was right.
Oh. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I also believe in change. I believe, we've had the likes of certain people, which in certain families that have certain family members, and we got one running in this race, and I'm just like, no more of them, no more of the other ones, no more of those, and let's get some new, fresh faces in there. Everybody deserves to have a right to run and be elected, but you gotta be a person for the people.
Absolutely. And how about this? And this isn't, well, I won't even say this is not to diss anyone. Maybe it is, but how about getting people that are homegrown in Chicago or Cook County or whatever the case may be, that know the city and they're from the city and they understand it culturally? Because I mean, Chicago has its own culture, and if you're not from here, just understanding the neighborhoods, how they were in the past historically, and how they've changed, and just how people vibe. I mean, that's something that well, I don't want to go into specifics, but we've had politicians in the past that are not from here, and I don't know. I just don't think that works very well. I think that we need to have people that understand the city. That's all.
I agree. You definitely, Chicago is nothing like Los Angeles. Los Angeles is nothing like New York. I mean, yeah, I mean, people are definitely. I was down in Texas, and I was on vacation, and I'm sitting at the club, and I see these Mexican couple, and then I hear this country music come on, and I see this Mexican couple singing the country music. I'm like, wow. So now I like country music, by the way. I got me a whole little country.
Oh my God,
I got me a whole little, I'll send it to you. I got me a whole little country music. But culturally, like, again, I'm from Chicago. You're not going to go to a bar where you're going to see Hispanics singing country music. It's just not going to happen,
Right.
So, but you
might hear some ranchera music, but not the country.
Right. Salsa, merengue, bachata. In your case, cumbia.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, so yeah, we are definitely culturally different, and I'm gonna tell you something about Chicagoans, and they'll tell you themselves, we don't like outsiders. I mean, right. I've made that public statement before, a few years ago. I'm like, yeah, we don't like outsiders. I mean, because we have good people right here, homegrown, like you said. We have homegrown good people who have who are up and coming, who deserve a chance because they know our city and they care about
Absolutely.
our city.
Yep. Very, very true. Well, Don, it's been great chatting with you, and I think we had a very lively discussion, and we'll have to do this again, and we'll have to get Carmen Navarro Dracone on as well, and we'll chop it up and talk a bit more. But thanks for joining the show.
Thank
And
you.
And thank you, everybody, for listening to Opinions, live stream and podcast. And we'll be back again Monday, 7 p.m. KL, take it away.
Unmute my mic. I want to say thank you out, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. You've been listening to Rhythm Flow Radio right here on Meta, Facebook Live, YouTube, and Spreaker. And tonight, on Monday at 7 o'clock, it's always opinions. And I want to thank you so much to my friends at Oval Cleaning. Oval Clean for all your cleaning needs, professional cleaning service, carpets, windows, floors, and more, commercial and residential, and post construction. Call my friend Mike or Steve at 708 528 6825. That's Oval Cleaning for all your cleaning needs. Also, thank you to my friends at Martha's Helping Hands. Make your donation today. Sow a seed for humanity. Make your donation to Turner's, TURNERS 412 at marthashelpinghands.org. Have a great Monday evening, and we will see you on Friday with brothers. No, a conversation with Brother Raymond, brought to you by Brothers Standing Together. Have a good night, everyone.